Hey folks, welcome back. It's the Big Barn Build. It's exciting today. Everything is getting installed. I want to show you all this. I've got answers to all your questions from the previous video. First up, let's get these batteries installed. Right, it's another day, another part of the solar install, and we're not on the roof this time, we're down on the ground, and it's all about the batteries. So we just brought round all the heavy stuff. So this is, well, these are the 4 batteries that are going to be in the 2 stacks. The inverters have gone round already. Archie's carrying them round, and then there's base plates which sit on the ground for them all to stack onto. We're round on the back of the cow shed now, which is where the solar shed is going, and Archie's made a start on the install, and I'll show you the bits that James did yesterday because we had to get the electrician in to move bits around ready for this, but then also all this new kit which has just been moved around here is ready to go in as well. So yesterday James had we've already got our basically our 3-phase cable that we always had, we used to run along, and we've trenched that under, so there had to be a joint, and unfortunately a joint in this 35mm 3-phase cable means a giant box on the wall, so that's meant that everything's shunted across a little bit, but hopefully that's still going to be okay. So there's basically just junctions going on in there, and then this is the new unit that's been put on there. We've put some power in here because you never know. We're definitely going to need our switch in here for internet and things like that, and the cameras maybe. But also it's just handy to have an extra socket around this side of the building, and then it's at this point where all the solar start, all the batteries start, and this is what it's looking like now. So the 4 batteries, the 2 inverters, and the base plates. Then I'll show you down into the other area, which is where the gateway is going over by the meter later on. That's kind of the third part of the install. There's the solar panels up there first, then the batteries here, and then the gateway bit over in the old barn. Alright, back for an update round in the solar shed, the battery shed. So looks like Archie's been busy with getting some of the first fix stuff in, so switches everywhere. It's beginning to look like a commercial substation around the farm. We've got all these boxes, we've got 3 of these units around the place now. So we'll have a proper walkthrough at the end once Archie's finished, but these switches at the bottom, that's all the DC stuff coming off the roof, and then the AC cut-offs for the 2 stacks that we've got. And I'm hoping now by getting those switches to that end, it looks like we're going to be able to bump the solar batteries across a little bit more, so we're a bit more comfortable this end. Does it locate exactly on her?
Yes.
Oh yeah. They're just a simpler setup, are they? The box one?
Yeah, they don't really have the backup either.
I left the reef off.
Yeah, I've already hit my head on that bit of wood there today.
That's it, is it? That
Yep.
connection. All right, well, welcome back. Nothing has really changed on the solar shack yet. That will have to happen soon. But we are up and running. So I'm going to go through now a little bit of the details, but also go through all the questions and comments, because there were a whole load of them in the last video, and hopefully I can answer some of that now. We're here. I'm going to rapid fire go through some of your questions from the previous video, and hopefully that will just kind of touch on some of the things. We're going to go on to an in-depth walk and talk with David next week when he comes back to finish off some of the work, and that's going to be the ins and outs of it, and he can show you the gateway, how it all works, the technical side of it, sizing, the optimizers, the batteries, and why we took certain decisions. For now, I'll just kind of run through some of the bits of the questions about us. A lot of the questions are about cleaning. And that's a good point. It's really dusty, especially in our droughty weather at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to have to get up there. It's easy enough on that roof. It's quite flat. It's not crazy high. And I think like a soft brush system works quite well, apparently. But in reality, a leaf blower gets some of it off. And maybe some rain. Rain might help. Some people are asking about the system, the bird mesh. So the bird mesh, I mean, I can't imagine any bird wanting to get under there. I mean, it would probably be about 80 degrees. Be like a medium rare pigeon, but it's on there. That's going to hold anything from getting under there. Some people getting concerned about the ventilation overheating. I don't think that is so much of an issue. There's quite, I guess it's a black roof, but there's quite a bit of a void under there because they're sat up on the ridges anyway. The wind can blow under there, and it's probably no different from a slate roof. I'm hoping that they're designed to work on hot roofs. Now, a few people are asking about our export limit. Yes, we've got a limit. Our export limit is 10 kilowatts. Now, 10 kilowatts on a 3-phase is not ideal, but it's better than nothing, I guess. We've actually asked, we've gone back to National Grid, and 21 degrees, I've left it with her, but I said, can we just see if that is a final answer, because it's the size of the cabling and stuff coming up the lane, you would have thought it could be more, but if it isn't, it isn't. Unfortunately, that means that at the moment we are producing more than we can use, and there is, like, even with this stuff charging and the load of the farm and the car charging, we've still got surplus. So it'd be nice to get that up. We've now got a smart meter, which means we can eventually get onto an export tariff and stuff. E.ON is the only one, well, it's the one we're with, but we haven't set it up yet. I don't think there's any, well, I don't know if we have to go with the same company as our grid connection. I assumed we did, but maybe we don't. Maybe someone can tell me, but we're a business. It's the commercial account, so that limits a lot of the smart tariff stuff. So I think it was 8.5 pence or something, and it's just flat rate. But if there are other options, please someone let me know before I commit to a year of something I don't need. Fire risk with panels. Can't say I've got any answer to that. I don't have any answers to that. I don't know what they do up there, but hopefully nothing. A lot of people praising this stuff, Sigenergy, which is good to hear. We weren't sure. We looked at all sorts of options. We had quotes from other places. Fox was one. Solax, Tesla. From, I mean, as far as YouTube goes, there seems a lot of people seem to be using this, and it did fit our situation quite well and seemed like best bang for buck. Plus, it gave that off-grid connection capability, which we'll go into next week with David. Now, payback. That's one of the big questions. How much did it cost, and was it a sensible decision? So our initial budget was like 20 to 25,000. That's what we thought for a big house to get some sort of batteries and some sensible amount. We soon realised that if we were going to do it, we probably need to spend more. We basically just blew the budget of bathrooms and kitchens and put it to this. And I don't know if that was a good thing or not. We spent not quite double that, but a lot of money on it. And we do use quite a lot of electric on the farm. The cabin at the moment is about the only situation we've got where we can kind of guess what we're going to use in the future. The cabin's electric heating, plus everything else load on the farm. So we use about 11 to 12,000 kilowatts a year at the moment. This setup is projected to produce 25,000 kilowatt hours per year. So we're over double in production generation, which hopefully means that there is room to export. plus, you know, if Joe's got a little electric car now, so that, you know, there will be extra bits to the load, but I still think over a year, we're producing more than we are using, which is, that was the goal, and that's pretty cool. So let me give you a quick idea of the payback. I'm trying to rattle through this because I know that we're going to touch on a lot of this kit stuff next week. So system size 31 kilowatts, expected generation per year 25 and a bit kilowatt hours, 1,000 kilowatt hours. So it's 209%. I don't know what that means. Yeah, 209%. So current payback, or payback based on current spending and current usage, is 6 years, 4 months. I don't know if that's good. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments what the norm is but I guess if you use less and you have a cheaper install, it's going to be quicker payback. So I have no answers there, but that's what the payback is. So 6 years is the payback. For us, yes, that's nice. That's nice to know that after that point, there'll be some sort of passive income, I guess. But for me, at least, I know Joe's more about the facts and figures. For me, it's kind of a mentality thing of like, today we didn't, for the last 2 weeks, we've spent absolutely zero on, or next to zero on electric. Yes, we've got a standing charge, I guess, but there's something quite magical about that in a weird way. And even with that car, I mean, I was never into electric cars. I think I've been turned, even though I love me old grumbly diesel, that you're driving down the motorway and you're powered by sunshine on your roof. It's a bit mind-boggling. So I'm hoping that it's a wise decision, and it's just, there's something quite freeing of knowing that you've got that sort of little bit of self-sufficiency. Yes, all this has got, some people are talking about embedded energy in panels and everything. I mean, unfortunately, that's in everything, isn't it? So I guess if we're going to move with the times and invest in stuff, you just want something that's not throwaway society. And I'm guessing that all this stuff can be recycled, batteries, and hopefully you can recycle solar panels. But judging by the fact that, you know, my parents and my in-laws, they, you know, put all the solar panels up whenever it was, 2008? Or earlier than that, when it was a big thing, and they're still getting paid that crazy export thing. But their panels are working fine. You know, they've been up 15, 20 years. So that's quite reassuring. It's not like it's just been invented, and this can only be better than their stuff, I hope. I don't have a really wholesome sort of answer to you on that, but that's what we've done. But it's the same as, you know, we've used concrete in the build, but hopefully the build's going to last long enough that's, you know, it's, don't know, you've got to pick your battles. But all I know is from a lifestyle point of view, this really fits, and we know we're producing all of the electric we need at the moment, and over a year more than we need. So it's good. I mean, that's kind of the reason why, even though we've got mains coming in, grid connection coming into the farm, mains water coming in, I kind of really want to put a borehole in, because it's just that mentality of being like, no, we don't need to be connected and paying bills all the time. And even though there is that payback bit, if we can find some of the budget to do it up front, it's just nice not having that ongoing constant bill. And that's one thing, that's what that whole bit at the end of the shed is there to be. There's going to be a dividing wall. That's going to be all the plant for the borehole in the future. Get all this sorted. I'm going to have a shutter door here, I think. Get the roofing fitted, oak cladding everywhere else. This will be done, all nice. This is all fire suppressed apparently. I was going to do it all in block and brick, but you know, most of these are in garages and stuff. I'd hope that they're safe enough for what they are. I had a little bit of a lying in bed the other morning, and I was thinking, God, I worry about fires now. Got the hay barn over here and timber frame house and all this sort of stuff. So I've just bought myself a commercial 30-metre fire hose that I'm going to have mounted up here on the main. So it's a big 25mm pipe hose that I can use, and that will cover this barn and most of the front of the house. and then new fire extinguishers and stuff like that. I just thought, you know, the field fire coming up, where would it stop? The lawn's dry, and yeah, and then obviously hay in an adjacent barn. I just started getting a bit worried, and yeah, I think that's a wise decision. So again, I guess down here you'd have a electrical fire extinguisher somewhere as well. But if you've got more questions, then you'll have to put them down below. Things like the kit and the optimizers and all those questions that came out that are technical, I'll put to David. He can deal with that. I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself. We'll see you next time.